Good day traders, compliments of the season and Happy New Year! Let's hope 2021 will be a good year filled with opportunities. For our first video of the year, I've decided to do things slightly differently and take a bird's eye view of what 2021 might have in store for us. This means that we will be looking at the monthly time frame to get a better view of where we are and where we might be heading. Let's get this timer rolling and I will see you back in the charts. We are once again starting by looking at the US dollar to South African rand. The rand roundabout back to where it started the year, that being 2020. And looking at these red months, we can see that we now had 8 red months in a row. Currently, price is trading at 1468, and that means that we are actually currently right on a multi-year resistance, which is quite likely now to be turned into support, and that is if we look at this diagonal trend line, we can see that that is right on that line, meaning that we could see some support from this area. We do have last year's pivot below us still at about 1424. So if there's still a sell-off lower, that could be the target. Of course, we also have our 50 monthly SMA, and that is also meeting up right at where we currently are, and that's why I'm saying this is definitely a very important and major level of support. Should we see a recovery from this area, we will see levels such as last year's R1 at 415.24. That would be followed by the high of 2018 at 1568. And of course, our new yearly pivot at 1597 to about 16. So that would be the targets initially. And if price were to break above that, then we can see price maybe moving back towards the highs from last year. But we'll have to wait and see what happens after we reach these major levels of resistance. If price were to sell off further, that could see a price move towards support at 1426. And that could be followed by 1388, which is also an important level of support. And of course, the biggest one I have on here is the 1315 level, which is also where it will meet up with the monthly 100 SMA. We are looking now at the Euro USD. We can see that we have managed a breakout on the monthly last year from this very large multi-year diagonal. And that it's seen the price steadily climb towards this multi-year resistance level at about 1.238. We have not yet reached that target, and hence why I'm saying that would be an area of resistance and possible target. We can also see that we have our monthly 200 SMA about the same level at 1.25. And then, of course, there's that yearly R1 pivot. Should price break above this area of resistance, we could target that yearly R1 at 1.28. Looking at support, the immediate area of support would be the new the new yearly pivot at 1.172. So that would be our area of support should price move back into this area. And then from there, we'll have to watch price action to see where price might go from there. I'm just briefly going to show you the economic calendar for the week ahead. I'm not going to read out all of the important events, but we can see we have the medium impact events highlighted in orange and the high impact events in red. So you can see here's the week ahead, and this is the same format that we would be following for the rest of the year. Looking now at a GBPUSD, we can see that in November, we also had a breakout from this diagonal resistance. So currently we are trading well above most highs dating back to about 2018, where the last time that we closed at a higher range was about, let's just quickly see, well, yes, it will be about March 2018. And that would, of course, also be our target near those highs. And that would give us a projected target for the year initially at about 1.442. And that is where our new yearly R1 pivot will also be trading. There is some initial areas of resistance ahead, and those would be at about last year's R1 at 1.385, and we also have the monthly 100 SMA in between this area, which will also offer some resistance. Just considering additional support for a break lower, if price manages to break or do break back into this range, Areas of support would be at the yearly S1 support pivot at 1.215. Moving on to the Australian dollar USD, similar to the previous two USD pairs that we just covered, we can see that last year and especially in November also saw a breakout from that diagonal trend, and that means we are potentially moving into a higher range. And we can see that we also had those highs in early 2018, and that is the area again that we will probably be targeting, and that would be at 0.818. There is, of course, the monthly 100 SMA, and that would be in the range of about 0.790. So that would be some initial resistance should price move into this moving average. So just keep an eye on that as the year progresses. Of course, we also have this important 200 monthly moving average, and that would be right above that area of resistance. And of course, should we clear that, then we'll see our yearly R1 pivot acting as some resistance, and a break above that might trigger a breakout, seeing price moving much higher. Just looking at some support, we do have our pivot for the year at about 0.698, which is the same level of last year. So that would, of course, be a strong area of support should price move back into this area. Moving on now to the Nasdaq, we can see that Nasdaq is still strongly trending upwards within a rising wedge, which means that a break below this diagonal support could initiate a strong breakdown or correction, with initial support targets at the yearly pivot at 10,800. There's also a next level of support at 8,600 to 8,700, and that is where it will also likely then meet up with that monthly 50 SMA. So for a deeper correction, or let's just say a breakout from this moving wedge, we could expect price to move even as low as this area. Just considering some potential bullish scenarios, if price manages to stay within this rising wedge and channel, there is, of course, the new yearly R1 pivot at 15,000. And although that is quite an extensive target, it's still possible. As we can see, we are still trending within this channel and still making higher highs and higher lows. Moving on now to Brent crude oil. 2020 has been a strong year for oil, with the recovery not yet showing any signs of weakness. And just looking at levels of resistance, these would include the 2020 S1 pivot, and that would be at, let's see, 54. And of course, then we also have this overhead level of diagonal resistance, and that will also meet up with the monthly 50 SMA, and that area would be about 59.50 to, let's say, about the 60 level. And of course, there's also this pivot from last year at 64 to 65, and any break above that would see a breakout and could then see price move higher into this area at about 76 and above, as we can see this breakout then progressing. Just considering support, any pullback or any correction would, of course, first see this area at about 46.50 being tested. That's the new yearly pivot, and a break below this diagonal support could see price move as low as the S1 yearly pivot at 21.50. Having looked now at gold, we can see that 2020 has been an exceptional year and recovery for gold, and that has followed what seems to be about an 8-year consolidation. So as soon as price broke out of that consolidation in the middle of 2019, we can see that gold has ever since been on this bullish run with some correction last year. But most importantly, we can see that gold has now defended this level of 1,800, and that is a level dating back to the highs of 2012. And so far, we are finding support from this level. This level is also the new yearly pivot. So this will definitely be the level to keep an eye out for. And as long as gold can remain above this diagonal, and especially above this pivot, we can expect the bullish run and correction to continue. Initial support would be the overhead resistance, or this diagonal, and that could be near the highs from last year at about 2,080. But then, of course, we also have our new R1 pivot at 2,163. So that could also be a bullish target. And in the scenario where we do break below this lower diagonal support, initial support would probably be in the area of 1,550. That is the yearly S1 pivot, and also support from this time between 2011 and 2013. And concluding this week's video by looking at Bitcoin. The king of crypto has continued to make new all-time highs, having already tested diagonal resistance at around 33,700, and it's starting to come very close to doubling its multi-year range at around 56,500, and the range has been calculated from about 2017 to the breakout in 2020. So if we do calculate that range and project it upwards, we got that target of about 36,500. That's also just below the new R1 yearly pivot at 37,500. So that would be the initial bullish target should Bitcoin manage to reach that. Just also looking at a pullback, we can see that we have our support all the way down here at about 20,000, also very close to where we have our new yearly pivot. So be mindful of that. We do have some interim levels of support looking on the lower time frames, weekly especially, and perhaps especially this 29,500 level, as that would be the monthly high from December. And then just looking at some exceptional bullish targets, we can see that we do have our R2 yearly pivot all the way up at 56,000. So should Bitcoin manage to surprise us and move as high as those levels, that could also be a possible level. Although from a technical standpoint, it could be tricky to reach that without seeing some form of correction. I trust you enjoyed this kickoff to our weekly market overview. Should you like a weekly head start on what the markets might have in store, please remember to subscribe to our channel, as we will bring you a fresh technical market overview each week. Until next time, this is John Jacobs for RMD Trader. Trade smart and trade successful.